Hey everybody, welcome to Property Pump. I'm Rod Wilson, your host, and we're all about providing tips, tricks, and some cutting edge strategies for pumping up property values and pumping up your business. I have an amazing guest on today. Ron Crough is joining us. Ron is a business strategy consultant and leadership coach for CEOs and executives here in Silicon Valley. And what Ron does, it's pretty interesting. Ron's a former engineer, came up through the ranks in Silicon Valley, ran a consulting practice. And what's interesting about what Ron does, he takes very kind of what I consider hardcore business strategy, and he kind of melds that together with using the power of thought and focus and laws of attraction and I guess powers of the universe. And so a lot of mindset stuff. So anyway, I want to jump into it with Ron. And Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So what I wanted to cover with you today, Ron, is how do we attract buyers? How do we attract buyers to our listings, or if we want to sell our home? How do we get into the right state to use those laws of attraction we hear so much about?
All right. Well, I got quite a lot to say about that, actually. So let's kind of categorize the two areas that we work in. There's really two big components to attracting the right buyers, attracting the right deal, attracting the right client, whatever it is you're looking to do in your business. There's the physical part of it, and there's the energetic part of it. The physical part of it is, you need to, if you're in real estate, you need to have your license, you need to have the correct skills and the knowledge and the know-how to actually execute the transactions. You need to build an experience base if you're just starting out. If you've been in business for a while, you need to have a good track record. You need to get hooked up with a company that can provide you infrastructure and, office space and whatever else you need. That's all the physical part. And that all has to be there to be successful. You can't not have it. What I want to talk to you today about is the energetic part. And the energetic part is kind of the behind the scenes things you do in your mind, how you manage your energy, how you manage your thoughts, how you get alignment, how things feel before, during, and after the deal process. And I want to talk about the vibrational aspects of what happens when we do something on a professional basis with clients and partners and colleagues and so forth. So just let's do an example. You've all been there where you've walked into a building and you've said, this building doesn't feel right. There's something about this building, it doesn't feel right to me. I walked into a room, this room doesn't feel right. There's a whole body of knowledge about the feel. And you've probably heard of feng shui, which is the art of placement. You've probably heard about environmental and sick buildings, and there's various versions of this. But people at an unconscious level get a feeling for their environment. They get a feeling for what's around them. And in fact, it's even more powerful than that. If you've ever walked into a meeting room or a conference room, and even when there's no one in there, and you just sit down and kind of pay attention, you can go, wow, they had an argument in this room before. There's bad energy here. There must have been some big disagreement or some difficulty, because you can feel it in the room. If you actually do a little research, you'll find out that CIA has devices that can measure energetic signatures and find out where people have been and what their emotional state is. And if you do a little bit of advanced research, you can find out that's how they knew where bin Laden's people were when the Iraq stuff was happening. So there's a lot to this energy stuff. It's got scientific basis. It's there. You don't have to know that. What you just have to do is pay attention. And basically, people respond to us. People respond to us at a conscious level. They respond to our credentials. They respond to our experience. They respond to our track record, and they respond to the information that we give them. But people respond.
I think most people have experienced that when they say, what's wrong? Why isn't a particular house selling? In fact, I'm dealing with that right now, where we're going, what's wrong with this property? It's not really on a conscious level. There's something else going on.
There's something else happening. So people respond consciously to the information or the physical things in our reality, in our world, but they respond unconsciously to things like our integrity, to things like our ecology, how we treat people, the levels of trust and levels of confidence. They respond unconsciously to our intent. And basically, they respond unconsciously to our vibration. And this is really the crux of success. This is the crux of being very, very professional. This is the crux of being accomplished, is to have all of these other things in place. So, as an example, when we want to accomplish something, my wife and I, when we want to accomplish something, we get clear first on what we're doing. So we set intent. And then we visualize, well, what does a successful outcome look like? What is it we're looking to achieve? And that work forces us to become clear on what we want, and first forces me to become clear on what I'm wanting before anything ever starts. And then we get into the feeling of what a good experience would feel like. And that's not just for us, but it's for everybody involved. So we don't hire anybody. We don't work with anybody that doesn't come on referral. We don't work with anybody we don't want to have a win-win to help their life be better, to advance their professional and personal objectives, because they're helping us to advance our personal and professional objectives. And so that's all part of the setting of the intent. That's all part of the visualizing of success. And it's all part of having a good experience and a good process for everyone involved. And when we do that, we are setting the stage for a successful and good experience. And that process starts way upstream. So for instance, if we just recently sold a property, and one of the things we did was we wanted someone to appreciate the property. We wanted the buyer to love the house and the yard as much as we loved it. So we wanted to pass it on to somebody who would enjoy it, who would have their family there, who would be appreciative of it. And we were in that vibration of appreciation, of knowing that it would work out. So our goal wasn't to find 20 buyers. Our goal was to find the right buyer and at the right price point for this particular thing. And we actually hit it out of the park. The person who eventually purchased the property from us wrote us a letter about how important it was, and when she drove up, she knew immediately it was the right place before she even went in. She looked at the color of the house, she looked at the tree in the front yard, and she was appreciative of it. She had been shopping for a house for a year and found nothing on the market that was a match to what she was looking for. So how did we meet? How did that process happen? That process happened vibrationally way upstream before the house ever went on the market. That process happened with lots of upfront work. In her mind, she was getting clear on what she wanted, and she was holding out for the perfect property, and she wasn't in a hurry to buy. In our mind, we were wanting someone who would appreciate the property, who would be, want to have their family in it and have lots of good experiences and live in a successful life. That's the upstream work.
So what would you say to the person who says, well, I don't care about the right buyer, I want the most money?
Well, the most money may come at a cost. I agree,
by the way, that you got to get the right buyer. It's not always about the most money or the highest offer, because that can turn into a nightmare.
Right. Well, what you want to do is, I think what we try to do is say, certainly we want to get a good price for the property. We want to get a good price for whatever it is we're doing. But we also want it to be a win-win experience for those others involved. That means a smooth process. There's no end to the difficulty that can happen when you start working with someone who's the wrong match. It's a very short hop from optimizing money to game playing, and to playing games with people and misrepresenting things and twisting what they say around. This is the integrity part, and this is the ecology part. And a lot of times people find themselves on the slippery slope where they want the best deal, but in the process of getting the best deal, they're giving up way too much about the smoothness of the process, the ecology of the process, the trust and the confidence of the process. And if you're in the realty business, you're going to make your living by repeat business, which is going to come through referrals. And people will feel if they've been taken advantage of. Even if there's nothing at a surface level that's questionable, it doesn't feel right. We don't work with anybody that it doesn't feel right. We don't refer anybody to our friends who we haven't had a good experience with, who we don't have full confidence in. And that confidence thing is this whole energetic piece, this whole emotional piece. So earlier I had said, what we do is we set our intent to have it be a good process, and of course to get the price that we're looking for. That's part of the intent. We visualize what a successful outcome would look like, and that's and this is where you get into the subtle difference between expectancy and expectation. We expect a good process, but we don't know exactly how it's going to happen. An expectation is very precise. If you have very precise expectations, you may narrow things down too much and not give enough flexibility to the world around us to provide the different options and alternatives of people coming through. So it's set intent, visualize, and then get into the feeling of it being a good experience for everybody involved. That's all the intangibles. And that's the upstream work. That's the pre-paving of how this thing works before we ever see that. We do that before we engage a realtor. We do that before we do that as part of our preparation as we're preparing to do something. And as I said earlier, I think we send out this. Well, let's just talk about this for a second. So this is the process of alignment. Alignment is getting clear on what we want at the right level. And if we come into a situation unaligned, well, it's kind of like getting in a car, and if you don't have an expectation of where you're going, and you get into a cab, he says, where do you want to go? And you say, take me anywhere. Then anywhere is where you will go, right? There's no anywhere. Any place is equally as good as any other place. That comes from a mixed vibration. So let's look at an Olympic athlete for a second, because that's a nice metaphor for excellence and for accomplishment and for impressive things. Olympic athletes will practice. They'll build skill, and they will acquire subtle distinctions about what it takes to be perfect in every dimension of whatever it is their craft, and they work at perfecting it. And that's what we see visually when we watch them. But what's really happening vibrationally is they're moving their sport from something they do at a behavior level to something they are at an identity level. They're creating an alignment internally, so they're not just doing archery or swimming or whatever it is their sport that they're competing at. They are becoming an Olympic athlete. They're becoming an Olympic competitor. They will use the statement, I am an Olympic competitor. And their coaches and things are moving them from behavior, which they have to have that perfect, all the way up to alignment that they are one of these people. I am an athlete. I am an Olympic athlete. I am an Olympic gold medal winner. That's a very different statement than I swim. Right. I swim as a behavioral level. So if you're in the realty business, you want to say, I am a realtor. I match up wonderful buyers and wonderful sellers and create a great process, which is a positive thing for everyone involved. And I am an accomplished realtor. I am one of these. I don't do deals. By the way, if you start the do deals thing, there's a slippery slope there, which can create unalignment issues. So vibrationally, we get into these careers, and these careers become us, and we become them, and we start to understand the process of alignment. And anybody who's been in business for many years and has done lots and lots of deals with people will tell you, and think back to your first deal. Think about how it moved along the process, right? All of us, whatever we did when we started a career, the first thing we had to realize is it's possible. I might get this. I might be able to do this.
Right.
Versus somebody who's done it for 30 years, I've done hundreds of deals, even thousands of deals. But the first time, we're putting it on our possibility map. And then after we do it a while, then it becomes, we do our craft and it becomes more probable. And then as we get more accomplished and repeat, and this is what practice is about in Olympics, and this is what experience is about in professional careers, it becomes more likely till the point that it becomes expected. And then finally, we just know. And people who've been in business a long time know the right buyers and the right sellers. They know the right deals, they know the right properties, and they can match them up and have a successful experience. So we move from hope to belief to positive expectation to knowing we can do it. And if you talk to anybody who's been doing something for a while and has had lots of good experiences and has represented a lot of clients, buyers and sellers across a number of different situations, they know what it takes. They know they can make it work. They know that they'll get a successful outcome. And that knowing part is an internal alignment. That's a vibrational quality. That is not an informational quality. Yes, you have to have the license, and yes, you got to have the credentials, but that knowing is the key thing.
So for just in backing this thing up and getting into like what do you do? How do you execute this and to make a difference in your career, your business, or particular property? It sounds like you're doing all, most people are going through the motions, not really, paying attention to some of this, the mindset or, how they think about a particular, project or even themselves and their business. So it sounds like to get into alignment, number one is just get really clear on what you want. And in doing that, you get clear on who you are or who you want to be. I mean, is this like a visualization exercise where you start running the movie of, the super successful agent that is, selling the biggest and baddest houses in town?
You can. Visualization is one of the tools, but you have to chunk down. So, success in a career is one deal at a time, one buyer, one seller at a time. And what I do is when I'm going to do something, I can feel whether I'm in alignment to it being successful or not. And if I'm not in alignment to it being successful, in other words, if I find myself going down the path of all the things that can go wrong, that would be evidence that I'm not in alignment to success. Then I say, okay, wait a minute, I got to get clear on this because I have a mixed vibration. If I'm doing one thing but expecting something else, I have a mixed vibration around this. I don't have a clear internal sense of how it could work out. Clarity is a terrific barometer of how aligned we are. When you put together a deal or when you accept a property to list, if you accept a property, for instance, you go, well, none of my current client base has ever bought one of these before. And you say, well, do I think I could sell this? Well, maybe I can. Or, no, I've never done this before, but I'll take it anyway. If you end up with the I take it anyway, you're not in vibrational alignment. If you're into, I think I could make this work, you're in enough alignment to give it a go and to invite the vibrational universe to fill in some of the blanks and send you the right buyers and send you the right resources. But it's an internal process. So there's no substitute for sitting down, for detecting that when we're out of alignment or when we have a mixed vibration about something. And sitting down and getting clear. The simplest example, let me just do this. We've all had this happen a million times. Someone says to us, do you want to go out for dinner? And you say, oh, part of me, yeah, I'd love to go out and eat. Part of me just wants to sit here and I'm tired, had a long day. Part of me just wants to sit here on the sofa. Let's order a pizza, right? Part of me wants to go out. Part of me doesn't. That's a very common experience. That's a mixed vibration. Part of me thinks I'm going to be successful. Part of me doesn't. Part of me wants to do this.
I mean, is that just doubt in a matter of being confident, though, or?
Well, it can be any of those things, but what it is it's information about our thoughts. Our thoughts are more random than they would normally be. Contrast that with, let's stay with the going out to dinner thing. Contrast that with a restaurant you've been looking forward to going to for a number of weeks. Your friends have told you how great it is. Your colleagues have told you how great it is. Your husband or wife wants to go out and you're going to go with a favorite friends or couple and you're going to go out to it and you're looking forward to it. And now we have the opportunity to do it. We've got a Friday night. We can go do it. We have a reservation. Is there any hesitancy in that vibration?
You're excited, right? Yeah.
Excited, looking forward to it. It's aligned. We've done the process of alignment, right? And alignment is an internal process. Nobody can do it for us. So we have to first detect when we have a mixed vibration. We next have to figure out what it's about. And it could be healthy doubts, as you had said. It could also be just we haven't thought about it enough. We haven't taken the time to visualize what success might look like. We haven't taken the time to clarify our own requirements or our own criteria about how it should happen or how it should unfold. And we haven't taken, and this is the hard one for people, we haven't taken the time to trust the greater good around us. Realtors who've been in business 20 or 30 years, who've been successful at selling properties across a whole variety of situations, when they put up a property on the market, they know it's going to sell. They know it's going to sell. If they've priced the property, they know it's going to sell within a certain range of price. They know it's going to sell within a certain range of time. They know that it's going to sell with a certain set of steps in the process. They know, but they don't visualize it each step of the way. They don't know exactly who the buyer is going to be. They don't exactly know what the final price is going to be, but they know that it's going to be in a certain range. Why? Because they've done it 100 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 100,000 times, and they're aligned about it. It's the doing it 100 times that gets us the confidence to become aligned, right? And correspondingly, once we become aligned, several things happen. Let's talk about this, because I want to talk about this alignment and how this works. So there's two things that happen when we align about something. One is we get clear in our thoughts and our mind, and our clear thinking about a subject causes us to take definitive designed actions in the direction of success. It also causes us to align our attitudes, align our biology, we align our physiology. We get up in the morning with a spring in our step, we align our attitude, we align our presence when we're interacting with clients and customers, we align our language, it's positive, supportive, deliberate, directed, we align our beliefs, we align our expectations. When we get clear thinking, we align us first. And that's the key, the first part. The second thing that happens, and there's scientific evidence for this too, by the way, is we send out a vibrational advertisement to the rest of the world around us that says, this is what I'm wanting. So when we listed the house that I spoke of earlier, we wanted someone who would appreciate it. We wanted someone who would treasure it, who would value it as much as we did. And we wanted someone who would enjoy it for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And that was our vibrational advertisement that we sent out, even before we selected the realtor.
So the work and what you actually do is getting clear. Obviously, the other part of it is let the universe take care of that, right?
Is to let go a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Do the marketing, do all the homework, but then also trust that there's greater action happening, there's a greater thing going on in the universe, and our job is to get clear and to align ourselves, and the universe will, and then to be open. That's the other thing, is to be open to possibility, and the universe will fill in some of the blanks. The chance meetings, the rendezvous with the right person. You might be on an elevator and you're talking to somebody, and they overhear you talking. Somebody else in the elevator overhears you talking about this new property that you're excited about, and they happen to be exactly the person in the market. They didn't look at the ad in the newspaper. They didn't look at the listing online. They heard about it because of a rendezvous. So, and the rendezvous can be as straightforward or as magical and everything in between. So, but the work, what we must do is we must get our clarity of our thoughts and get aligned on the outcome and the expectation about it and the feeling of it. I think earlier I said there's three things that we do whenever we kind of do at a high level. We set intent. So we set intent that something's going to happen. And we get and setting an intent and being clear with our intent is the first step. Then we visualize something, and it doesn't have to be hugely detailed, but we visualize what a successful outcome would look like. There's great evidence for this in the sports arena. That's what Olympic athletes do: is they rehearse, they visualize, they do this. You can read books on this. It doesn't have to be that big of a deal, but you visualize success. What that does is it starts lining up the neurons in our mind to be having what a successful outcome is. And
you hear a lot of that in golf all sports, but golf as well. Like, Jack Nicklaus, that he runs a shot through his head 10 times before he actually swings the club, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And they focus and they eliminate all the noise and all the extraneous feedback around them, and they really zero in on perfection and what they want. So the part visualization includes, there's a whole bunch of things in it, including focus. And then, most importantly, we get into the feeling of what a good experience would be like. So the feeling is the power behind the vibration that's transmitted.
Now, the feeling
is that we set.
Yeah, that's.
Say again?
I was just thinking, the feeling, the setting of a tent, I think I know what you're talking about there. The getting in the feeling is for me anyway, is one of the harder parts. It's like, what do we do? How am I supposed to feel? But it sounds like what you're saying is it leads up to that if you're doing some of the mental work ahead of time.
Right, because you've set intent and you use your visualization tools, and you reassure yourself and you get into the feeling of a successful outcome. And what's it feel like to see your kids go off to college? There's this feeling of success and pride and accomplishment. What's it feel like to satisfy a client, to find exactly the right house that they've been looking for a year? What's it feel like to, have the right people come together and have everybody walk away with a good outcome and have a better life as the result of it? That's the kind of feeling we're talking about. And that the more time we spend getting into the feeling of an experience, the more power there is in our vibrational advertisement to everyone around us. And those three steps at a high level, they are part of and then they will cause us to get clear on our thinking. They'll cause us to articulate the criteria that we had that we may not have known we had, and they will cause us to be expecting, in a state of expectancy, a positive expectancy, and to be open to things happening. The other thing I always tell people is after you've done that process, be open to your leads coming to you in ways that are not traditional. Someone taps you on the shoulder in an elevator. Someone, you meet somebody overhears a conversation. We met one of our longtime friends and colleagues in a parking lot, and he's an extremely accomplished realtor, and we've been friends for 2.5 decades now, and we just happened to bump into each other. Did we just happen to bump into each other? At a physical level, we just happened to bump into each other. At an energetic level, we would have eventually met anyway because we have same values, we have same integrity, we treat people well, we like that kind of thing. And so, it's just, it's been a long, wonderful relationship. So the thing I would want to leave you with is we are always emanating a vibration. We are always, 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 if we're awake and our eyes are open, we're thinking. If we're thinking, we're emanating a vibration. The vibration has two purposes. It aligns us internally, and it's an advertisement to everybody around us. It's that.
The video's kind of breaking up here. Are you there, Ron?
Same thing that happens.
Okay.
Here. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right.
It looks like we got a little internet, issue there for a second.
Okay.
So it sounds like what I was going to mention is Mike Dooley calls him the cursed hows. If you're focused on how something's going to happen, you kind of take away from this process.
Yeah. You want to stay high, or you want to stay on the outcome and stay in a good feeling and a good expectancy place, and let people and circumstances and situations evolve. Let the world provide you with the details and enjoy the ride. And that's not normally how we run things. Most project management courses will tell you the way you make something happen is you exert more and more and more control over the details. And leadership is the opposite of that. You exert more and more precision over the outcome, and you let the details float.
Interesting.
And you be open to multiple avenues for which something can be accomplished. So it's and I think it's more we've entered a mode too where it's more kind of right brain and more more acceptable now to do the get clear on the outcome, get clear on the things. Even in teams, we get clear on our roles and what we're doing, and then each person goes off and has a myriad of ways they can accomplish their part. So there's a trick to this, is to stay holistic at some level, and then to let the hows unfold.
Yeah, it's funny that some of this stuff, you'll still get people that either don't believe in it, or they've seen The Secret, or they've heard various athletes or even business leaders that have used a lot of these strategies and still kind of question its ability, it actually working. But we know, and we've basically proven, and it's actually, if you think about it, it's been hundreds or even thousands of years where we've been using these things, and we kind of get into I come from the brute force mentality where if something's not working, you just work harder and harder and harder, and
well, there's value in that too.
But you got to do stuff, but at the same time, it's like why not make it easier on yourself, and get your head straight, get in the right, you talk about getting the right feeling and emanate the right vibration. And, a lot of these things just become much easier. And, we're talking about attracting buyers to homes and listings. And I think, just getting really clear on your outcome is very, very powerful.
It's a big tool. The reason, so no one can convince us of anything. We have to convince ourselves. So whether somebody believes in it or not, to me, doesn't matter, because they have to have a set of experiences in their world that makes sense to them. But here's the answer I would give to people who have really appropriate hesitancy around this, or skepticism. The reason most people don't have this experience is they have a mixed vibration. So if I look back at myself many years ago, over the course of an hour or a day or a week, I probably emanated all kinds of vibrations. I had good thing happen here, had difficulty here, stubbed my toe here, worked hard here, got overtired here. So when we send out a mixed vibration to the world around us, and we send out a mixed vibration to ourselves, we have a mixed experience that comes back. And so it's very difficult to correlate what I was doing and what I was thinking and how I was feeling with the thing that happens in the next hour or day or week. And so it seems like I'm having a relatively random existence. And I think many people will tell you this, when they get more practiced at focus. This is why we teach people goal setting in business and strategy. When we get more practiced on goals and strategy, and most importantly, the alignment around it, our mixed experience starts to sort itself out, and we start to see the correlation between adding precision to our goals and our intent and the results that we achieve. There isn't a business team I know who wouldn't do a planning session at least once a year and plan their goals, and I lead these things, go through the strategies, because they know that planning and strategy is better than no planning and no strategy. If you want to have a random experience, don't plan, don't do strategy. Well, at a personal level, if you want to have a random experience, then have a mixed vibration. They go together. One creates the other. So if I'm all over the place and I have good days and I have bad days and I have wonderful clients and I have terrible clients and I have great properties and I have bad properties, and if my language is full of this stuff, then I am unaligned about what I want. I'm unaligned about how it's going to unfold, and I have a mixed vibration, and I'll probably have a mixed set of clients. I'll probably have some great deals and some bad deals and one that ends up in litigation, and I'll probably have some great clients and some really hard to deal with clients, and I'll probably have I'll have a mixed experience. So my invitation is really to everyone, including myself, is if I'm having a mixed experience, I probably have a mixed vibration, and the more work I can do on clarity and getting focused on my goals, and in an easy way, it doesn't have to be a lot of work, but the more I can do to improve my own internal clarity, I narrow down my vibration from this mixed bag of things to a much more precise path forward, then my experiences will start to fall in line. Do it for a week, do it for 2 weeks, do it for a month, do it for 6 months, and see what happens. If you think you're making progress, you'll convince yourself, and you'll perfect the craft of creating the world that you want to have, instead of responding to the world that's happening around you, which is kind of the victim thing.
Well, that's right? What I'm hearing. We are responsible for everything that we get. So,
well, responsible is pretty heavy.
A scary thought, because it's what you're thinking. So if you're bringing in things you don't want, it makes sense that you're not clear on what you do want.
It's true. Being responsible for everything is a pretty big chunk to get to. But I start out with saying we have influence over what we want. We have influence over our world. And as we perfect our craft at thinking clearly and identifying our goals at the right level, getting into the feeling of success, as we get better and better and better, our mixed experience should become narrower, and we should start to sort it out. Look at people who've been in business for 20 or 30 years. They have a client base that they know well. They got clients that they trust. They know a geographical area. I'm talking real estate now. They have an area where they're expert in. They know the prices in the neighborhoods. They develop skills in that area. They have a buyer base that they represent who are always looking for properties and things. And they have taken effectively a random starting point in their career and honed it very carefully and successfully over a number of years to something that provides a great career for them, to a buyer base and a seller base and a property base and a knowledge base that makes it all work. And that's if you've been in business 20 or 30 years and you are not accomplished and you haven't achieved the level of success, then I think there's work to do at the vibrational level. And correspondingly, if you look at people who are really excellent at their careers or their craft, they have figured this out through the years. And they don't have bad days. They don't have bad deals. They have some things with some challenges in them, but they take them in stride and they work them through, and they've been in business long enough and they have enough experience and enough know-how to understand what to do and how to do it. So it's you can align yourself over 30 years in your career, or you can align yourself over 30 minutes in the morning and get started a lot sooner. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but it's an important thing.
Right.
The best way to do it is just, everybody kind of knows this, but I just want to say it. The best thing to do is to get a 10 minutes of peace and quiet first thing in the morning before you start taking in new information, and get clear about your goals for the day, for the week, for the property you have, for the client you have, for the situation you're dealing with. Get clear. Just spend a few moments in quiet, thoughtful reflection about that, and then do the day. And you do that 5 days in a row, and you'll start to see changes that will immediately show up.
And so what I have, and maybe you're talking about including this in this 10 minutes, is you think about, you set intent, you visualize on your outcome or your success, the goals you have, and then just get really clear on what you actually want. And then the last thing is get into the feeling of having it.
Yeah, the feeling of having it. And then, let go, and then do your day.
Let it happen.
See what happens, and be willing to be amazed.
I love it, Ron. No, that's a great process, and I will start doing that. I commit to start doing that myself.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us on the call. Again, everybody, you're listening to Property Pump, where we help you pump up the values of real estate, residential real estate, and your business. And I'm Ron Wilson. You've been on with Ron Crough. Actually, Ron, how do people reach you? Where should they find out more information about what you do?
My strategy website for business people is vosara.com, VOSARA. I do leadership coaching and I do strategy development with executives and management teams and entrepreneurial teams and so forth. So that's probably the easiest way to get me.
And I've been in some of these sessions and they're absolutely amazing. So anyway, thanks for joining, everybody. Thank you very much, Ron, and we'll see everybody on the next podcast.
Thank you.